Prisoner Lasher, after serving your 10,000 galactic year sentence for crimes against the galaxy, you are hereby released.
Well, that wasn't that bad.
And in completion of your sentence, you will now be returned to Earth.
Oh, you're gonna teleport? Bet you're surprised to see me again. Well, here's the weird thing. I know this is pretty surprising and strange, but it turns out that a galactic space year is not very long compared to like an Earth year. And so 10,000 galactic space years is like a couple of months. I lost a summer. And also it turns out that these aliens from outside the galaxy are pretty civilized. It wasn't like I was getting waterboarded or anything like that. It was a comfortable time. It was relaxing. It was like a little retreat. And so here I am back, not going to commit any more war crimes because, yeah, I'm rehabilitated now, but we're going to have to move on to something else, aren't we? Anyway, what I wanted to do today is dive into speaking about poetry a little bit more deeply. And the other day in class, we read those two poems, Richard Cory by E.A. Robinson and A Man Said to the Universe by Stephen Crane. Now, we have to remember that both of these poems were written very close to each other in time. Richard Cory was first published in 1897, and I don't have an exact date for A Man Said to the Universe, but it had to have been just around there based on Stephen Crane's short life. But anyway, let's reread the poems, and then I'm going to talk about them very quickly. So first of all, we can see the text up here as usual, can't we? Yep, there it is. Richard Cory, E.A. Robinson. Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. And he was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked, but still he fluttered pulses when he said, "Good morning," and he glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought that he was everything, to make us wish that we were in his place. So on we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. It's pretty wild stuff, isn't it? You don't really see that ending coming. A little bit of a surprise, isn't it? Whew. That's okay, we like graphic. I like graphic, you might not, but that's alright. Anyway, our interpretations of this may differ quite a bit. But basically, there's a story here. There's a guy, Richard Cory, and he's rich, and he has good manners, and, he's well-bred. And everyone wants to be him. But nobody knows about his internal struggles, so he goes home one day, and he commits suicide. Now, let's do a close reading first, and then let's talk about some themes, all right? So for the first close reading, let's look at the first stanza, the first 4 lines. And in the first line, whenever Richard Cory went downtown, downtown literally means to the center of the city, right? And of course, these days, the center of the city is the most expensive place, but historically, maybe, it's a little bit more impoverished. But also, we need to think of the symbolism of up and down, right? Up is always better, down is always worse, isn't it? We want to live on a high floor of an apartment. Right, we want to be higher than other people, right? High is good, down is bad. So downtown means he's going from his high place and going to the low place where these normal people are, right? And then the second line, we on the We people on the pavement looked at him. On the pavement again means they're lower, right? They're down. They're in the dirt basically. But also on the pavement could mean that they are on foot. They are walking on the pavement, whereas Richard Cory with his fabulous wealth is in a carriage or on a horse or something like that, right? Again, we see the physical relationship of upper and lower here. Again, he was a gentleman from sole to crown. His entire body was a gentleman, from the soles of his feet to the top of his head. But again, looking at the language, the sole is the bottom, it's the bad part, whereas the top is called the crown, that's the royal part. Again, we are seeing the high and low imagery here. Clean, favored, and imperially slim. Again, imperially, right? It implies that there is some kind of royalty behind him. Right? He's slim. He takes good care of himself. All right, in the second stanza, it talks about how well bred he is, his good manners. He was always quietly arrayed. He's not ostentatious, you know. He's not too loud or anything like that. He's down to earth. He was always human when he talked. He was polite, right? He had great manners. This is interesting. But still, he fluttered pulses when he said... People got excited, right? Women loved him. Men wanted to be him. What was the Austin Powers quote?
Women want him, and men want to be him.
Women wanted him, men wanted to be him. There we go. All right, good morning. And he glittered when he walked. Of course, he doesn't literally glitter, right? It's a metaphor. But it's showing that, like, he's something special. He's magical, right? And of course, this line here reminds me of the Beatles song, right? Diamonds on the soles of her shoes. Because it's kind of a similar imagery, isn't it? This idea that we're so special. All right, now, the next part, the third stanza, talks about his wealth in specific. He was rich, yes, richer than a king. We have to remember E.A. Robinson is American and writing for an American audience, and there is no royalty in America, right? So it doesn't mean anything to us. But here, he has a lot of money. He's richer than any king. And again, he had great manners, admirably schooled in every grace. He was wonderful in every way. In fine, we thought that he was everything. Everyone loved him and envied him, to make us wish that we were in his place. We want to be him, right? He has everything, we have nothing. And this builds on in the final stanza. So on we worked and waited for the light. They're suffering, working their dead-end jobs and doing their poor people things, trying to do better because they want to be like him. We're waiting for the light. We're waiting for the lottery or whatever is going to happen. I don't know, the dream. And went without the meat and cursed the bread. They're poor, they can't afford meat, they can only eat old, crusty, moldy bread. They're not happy, they curse it. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. He committed suicide. So, the first theme that we want to look at here is the idea that we don't know what struggles somebody else is going through. Right? Richard Cory seems like he has everything, but he kills himself. Why is that? And one of the things that I always like to think about is that in some ways this is kind of like apologia for rich people, right? Like, oh, rich people are just people. Having money doesn't make you happy, blah, 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 blah. Dignity is important. These are all lies told by the rich to keep the poor people like us in our places, right? Money makes everything better. Money can literally solve all of my problems, right? What did Ariana Grande said? The only time I'm probably ever going to mention or quote Ariana Grande in my life. If people say that money doesn't solve their problems, they don't have enough of it. Something like that, right? Sure. And also, it's a lie. I mean, of course, money can't solve all of your problems. If you have deep personal issues, money doesn't necessarily help with that. However, if you do have personal issues, it's much better to have personal issues with money than without, right? Poor people also suffer from these issues. So, of course, money is better. And so I don't really like that aspect of the poem that kind of is apologizing for wealthy people saying, oh, they have it hard too. Because everyone has it hard. Trying to get us to excuse your filthy filthy wealth. No, I don't really like it. But anyway, moving on. Let's very quickly. A man said to the universe. This is a short one. It's only 5 lines, right? A man said to the universe, "Sir, I exist." "However," replied the universe, "the fact has not created in me a sense of obligation." Of course, what we see here is this is actually somewhat similar to the Richard Cory poem in that there's a power dynamic, right? There's man and there's the universe. Man is not powerful, the universe is powerful. And so the man says, "I'm here, pay attention to me." And the universe looks down and says, "So what? We don't care, right? You mean nothing to the universe. The universe is gigantic and you are small." And this is kind of similar with the Richard Cory story, isn't it? Richard Cory has all the power and the average person has none of the power. However, in this case, the universe is not admirably schooled in every grace. It just says we don't care about you. But we can see in this poem that maybe that's not exactly true. Because if the universe truly didn't care, why would it answer? And so we have to wonder exactly what this dynamic is, you know? Maybe the universe needs man. Certainly, man needs the universe. But of course, we can also apply this poem more currently to issues of inequality, can't we? Especially like power dynamic inequality, where with gender inequality or with racial inequality, we have the man saying, "Hey, witness me, pay attention, I'm here, you have to help me." And the powerful, right, the main group, the middle-aged white men, unfortunately, which I'm fighting against, even though I am one, says, "So what? We don't owe you anything." And I don't want to get into a very long discussion about the power dynamic, particularly in the United States where I'm from. So we're going to drop it for now. But needless to say, maybe the universe does need to pay attention. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to stop here. Thank you for discussing poetry with me. I will see you guys again in a few days. Andy out.